Good, y'all? It's Classic May here, and today we'll be back with another video. So today we'll be going over what fights to make after the banger card that happened yesterday. UFC Qatar. You know, saw some big fights. I'm only gonna be discussing guys that are borderline ranked level. So if you want to know who Bogdan Grad is gonna be fighting next, then I don't know, go ask Haporo or something, bro. I bet he made a fight to make for Bogdan Grad or Nicholas Dalby or Sagid or whoever. So, alright. So for our first fight we're gonna be making a fight for Alexandre Topuria. So I think after beating Bexot, who's really good, I think he's about one fight away from the rankings. I think he should fight one borderline ranked guy, and it's rankings time for Topuria. He looked really good in that fight. Like he looked like one of the best bantamweights on the world. Honestly, I think Alexandre Topuria might be a future champ after that performance. I know that's Blaze, but it's facts, dude. So for Alexandre Topuria, I want to see him fight just because this fight would be really funny, and it's good for Topuria. Bryce Mitchell, brother. I will show you Jesus in the Bible. So why do I want this fight? Well, I mean it's pretty obvious. I want to see how if Bryce Mitchell gets slumped out cold by, well, not, if he gets finished by both Topuria brothers, that'd be hilarious. Because Bryce Mitchell's after so many embarrassing losses, finally made a move down a weight class. Just have to go fight Ilya Topuria's brother. That's hilarious. Like, please do it, UFC. Also, Bryce Mitchell's coming off that big win over Saeed. We can grapple check Topuria, but make sure he has the grappling. He might get smudged by Bryce Mitchell. He might get smudged by him. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Make this fight. Alexandre Topuria probably slumps him out cold, but I think this is the fight to make for Bryce Mitchell. Alright, for our next fight on the card. Let's see. So for Beksa Amakan, he's 1-2 in the UFC. His losses aren't bad. Umar in a fight where he dropped Umar, and Alexandre Topuria, who's looked really good. But I think we need to give him a step down in competition. So I'm just gonna give Beksa a guy he can chin. You know what? Cameron Simon's still in the UFC, so we're doing this fight. I mean, Cameron Simon's just been getting chinned left and right. Like, this dude is actually speedrunning CT at 25 years old, so. I don't know, make this fight. Let's give Beksa an easy give him a layup. Get Cameron Simon out of the UFC, because we found out that he's not UFC level. Like, he was a decent prospect at one point. I don't even know if he was that good, honestly, because who did he even beat? Like, I'm trying to think. Who was Cameron Simon's best win in the UFC? It was Terrence Mitchell or Steven Kozlov. Who is Steven Kozlov? Is this guy in the UFC? No. And then he also got fraud checked by C-Rod, so. I don't know. Yeah, we're doing Beksa versus Simon. Pretty self-explanatory fight. Just a free layup for Beksa and get Cameron Simon out of the UFC. Now for Asu Amabayev. Yeah, that performance was ugly, bro. This dude was getting manhandled by Alex Perez for 2 rounds and fluked a sub. Like, I'm not joking. This dude actually fluked a sub. So yeah, also on you're not fighting Manel Cobb, you're not fighting Tatsuro Taira, you're not fighting Brandon Moreno. You wanna know who you're fighting? You're fighting Kyoji Horiguchi, brother. Like, after the performance that Horiguchi had versus Taguera, and bro was looking like prime King Von. Let's give him someone his size. Like, that's also a midget at flyweight. Just tell me this fight wouldn't be hard. This fight would be fun, man. The scrambles. Like, I think Horiguchi probably skulls Asu Amabayev after what I saw versus Taguera, but I think this would be a really good fight. Like, I think the UFC should book this, honestly. So, I don't know. Do Asu Amabayev versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I think that's the fight to make. Winner of this can get a top 5 opponent. Now for Alex Perez, you know what? He did not do bad. He won a clear first 2 rounds over Asu. Asu looked awful in those first 2 rounds. Like, Alex Perez actually kind of looked like he was in his prime again for those first 2 rounds. So, yes, he's 1-5. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Alex Perez, this is your last chance to pick up a win, bro. I'm gonna give you the other. This is the Unk off. We're making the Unk off. Both these dudes have been in the top 10 for years at this point, especially this other dude. I'm making Alex Perez versus Tim Elliott. You know, Tim Elliott's actually on a win streak, so I think he deserves a fighter around Alex Perez's caliber at this point. Like, I don't think we need to give Tim Elliott another young prospect from the project. Let's just do him versus Alex Perez. Let's give Alex Perez a step down in competition, see if he still got it. Because he didn't look good in that first round against, or those first 2 rounds against Asu. So let's give him a step down and see if he can do it. Give me the unk off. Alright, for now our next fight. What's this kid's name? Luke Riley. Luke Riley. So, you know, pretty insane KO we got there versus Bogdan Grad, and I think he's gonna be pretty special. So you know what? This is this is kind of a layup, boss. This is a banger fight, no matter who wins. I want to see Luke Riley fight Nate the Train. Nate the Train is coming off, you know, 2 TKO losses, but in both fights before the KO, he performed really well. Like against what's Morgan Shire, Shire. I don't know how to say that guy's name, but I believe yeah. I'm pretty sure he dropped Morgan Shire before, you know, the finishing sequence of the third round. Like Nate the Train still kind of got it, and he has that win over David Onama a couple years ago. So I don't know. Nate the Train versus Luke Riley. Give Luke Riley just another cool fight. This is a banger if it goes past the first round. And then you never know. This is the kind of win that Nate the Train would have won versus a random prospect. So yeah, give me Nate the Train versus Luke Riley on a pay-per-view next year, on the prelims of a pay-per-view next year. We already ran through who Kyoji Horigushi's fighting. He's fighting Asyam Baev. Enough said. Now for Waldo Salsa Boy Cortez Acosta. You know, Waldo Cortez Acosta. I'm kind of manifesting the title shot on this channel. Like I believe in him, bro. In a year or two, when Waldo Cortez Acosta is holding the UFC heavyweight belt, just remember who told you. It was this guy, Classic MMA. So I think after, you know, taking that fight on 2 days' notice versus Shamil and knocking him out in a minute, I think he should get a title eliminator. I gotta be honest. That's how bad the heavyweight division is when Waldo Cortez Acosta is getting a freaking title eliminator. And he was losing to like Marco Silva, whatever that, I can't remember his name, the Brazilian dude, but I know he lost to him a year or two ago, and he was robbing, and he's arguably losing to Andre Arlovsky, but Waldo's actually on a run now, so dude developed a blood power at the ripe age of 34, so I don't know. I think this is the fight to make, though. I think we should do Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Alexander Volkov, you know? Because I think Volkov, he can't just sit around for a title shot. He needs another fight. That Jelton Almeida performance was not impressive from either of those guys. Volkov just won for doing slightly more than Jelton Almeida literally laying on top of him and doing nothing. So I also wouldn't be mad with Cortez Acosta versus Blades, but I don't think Blades deserves a title eliminator at this point of his career. So I think we do Waldo versus Volkov, and whoever wins this gets the winner of Tsarukyan and Tom Aspinall too. So I don't know. So either we get Waldo and Cyril, or Waldo and Tom, or Volkov and Tom 2, or Volkov and Gone 3 at this point. So now for Shamil the Blob Gaziev, I'm just gonna make a heavyweight blob off. You could put him against Vulture Walker, but the way Vulture Walker just seems to not care about fighting people ranked above him, so I'm not even gonna bother with that. I think Vulture Walker's just trying to speed run how many heel hooks he can get in a year. So props to him, I guess. So I'm just gonna give Shamil Gaziev another ranked blob. He can fight Mick Parkin. Mick Parkin's coming off the fraud check versus Tybora. What's his name? Shamil's coming off the knockout loss to Waldo. Just do this fatty on fatty fight, and whoever loses this could probably get cut, and I wouldn't even be mad. I'm not. Maybe that's harsh, but. And then for Mixabek Orbai, everyone's favorite caveman. Hey, bro, you might not know this, bro, but this dude was legitimately trapped in a block of ice for 500,000 years, and then they taught him MMA one day. They unthawed the ice, taught him MMA. Alright, I'm joking, that was lame. But hey, bro. I think for Mixabek Orbai, he should be fighting. You know, he fought. I don't think the Jack Hermanson win is all too impressive, considering, you know, the knockout loss to RoboCop, and then, you know, he touched him barely behind the ear, and he dropped and went out cold. So I'm just gonna give him another unk. This is a guy who also recently moved down the welterweight. Like and then if Orbai beats this guy, then we can probably talk about like one more fight in the top 15 of welterweight. So I say we do Orbai versus Salty Man Chris Curtis. Was it honestly? I just want to see what would happen to this fight. I think Loki or put Chris Curtis in a Kimura. He won't tap if the ref will stop it, and then Chris Curtis will start raging. Please make that happen. I need that in my life. Sean Strickland will show up and probably slime out the ref. Like, come on, bro. We need this fight. Give me Chris Curtis and Mitsubek Orobai. Now for Jack Hermanson, I'm just gonna skip to it. We're not giving Jack Hermanson a fight. Jack Hermanson, it's time to go to Cancun, buddy. You've had a great career. You had that nice win over Joe Pyfer last year. You were a top 5 middleweight at one point. Now it's time to retire, buddy. It's time to pack your bags and move on. The UFC isn't for you. The fight game isn't for you anymore. It's time to pack it up. So, hey, bro, real ones remember when crafty vet Hermanson fraud checked salty Joe Pyfer, but those days are over, sadly. Then for Volkan Oezdemir, did classic Volkan Oezdemir things. Was a classic gatekeeper, beat Manyfield, who's pretty awful, but still a decent one. And I think, we should just continue the gatekeeping. Let's do Volkan Oezdemir versus the loser of Jan Blachowicz and Guskov. So this fight's going to be on UFC 323 and next week or the week after. And I think that whoever loses this fight, which, I mean, this is an interesting fight. I actually don't know who will lose this, because Jan is pretty old and slow, and Guskov has finishing potential. Oezdemir actually subbed Guskov like a couple years ago, so I don't know. We could do Oezdemir or Guskov too if he loses this, or Oezdemir. I don't think Oezdemir and Jan ever fought. I might be tripping though, but I don't think Oezdemir and Jan ever fought, so that'd be a fun matchup of the light heavyweight division. Two guys from the kind of the same era of light heavyweight, so I don't know. Whoever loses this fight, I think Volkan Oezdemir should fight next. Then for Alonzo Menifield, honestly, this is a joke. Or actually, no, this is not a joke matchup. This is the greatest matchup I ever could have made, bro. This is the reason I'm the best matchmaker on MMA YouTube. Like, just hear me out with what I'm about to pull out. Now, we could cut Alonzo Menifield or feed him to Zhang Mingyang or something. Or we can make the biggest, the baddest, and the strongest trilogy you've ever seen in your life. Mate, I want Alonzo Menifield versus Jimmy the Brute Crew. Like, bro, this is a trilogy that's been needed to happen, bro. Bro, people forget, man. This was a draw the first fight. Second fight, Alonzo Menifield somehow subbed Jimmy Crute, but Jimmy Crute wasn't motivated. He wasn't locked in, bro. He hadn't won a fight since like 2021. But now coming off the big wins over Ivan Ursulin and Marcin Prashnio, at this point, give me Alonzo Menifield and Jimmy the Brute Crute 3 as a main event in the Apex, bro. Tell me the real hardcores will know what I'm doing with this fight. Real hardcores. Yes, we all want to see Alonzo Menifield versus Jimmy the Brute Crute 3 headlining an Apex card. Just injected in my veins at this point. This is the best fight I could have ever made. Alright, for Ian Machado Ferry. So unfortunately, yeah, I hate Ian Gary, but this dude won. And he looked really good doing it. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. I want to see Morales get the title shot, but I know what the UFC's doing. We're getting Ian Gary versus Islam Makhachev. Ian Gary actually speaks English and can promote his fights, so that's why they'll give it to him. Even though Ian Gary is this boring point fighter, he wins a 29-28 decision over people who, and then just doesn't do anything of an impressive fashion. Just wins a whatever decision over Bilal Muhammad. Because of, the post-fight promo, which was corny, by the way, but it's enough to probably get him a title shot versus Islam Makhachev. And Ian Gary isn't going to do good in this fight. I'm going to be honest. He's going to get taken down subbed in 2 minutes. I don't care. Call me a casual all you want. Ian Gary, dude. Dude, he beat Bilal worse than JDM did. He took him to a 29-28 decision with no damage. What do you mean, man? Alright. For the king of Chicago, the Chicago Grim Reaper himself, Bilal Muhammad. Unfortunately, he lost to Ian Machado Gary, so I think for his next fight, just another guy around. Let's just continue this Bilal Muhammad downfall at this point. We're already here, so let's just continue it. We have nothing to lose. Give me Bilal Muhammad versus Carlos Prates. Also, don't mind the white background there. Couldn't pay for the background remover. We're in poverty here, up on Classic MMA. So I don't know. I think Bilal should fight Prates next. I think this is a good fight to make. Honestly, because this is a really winnable fight for Bilal. I mean, we're giving him a guy who's a pure striker, doesn't throw all that much, is pretty low volume, but has a lot of power, but has been shown to be able to be taken down in his last fight versus Leon Edwards. Like, this is a winnable fight for Bilal, but also for Prathes, he can get two former champs on his resume back to back. Like, the flex at Dhabi is massive. Even though it's like two of the worst champions in the UFC history, having Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad as your back to back wins is enough to get you a title shot. So, or at least be in the argument for it. So, give me Prathes versus Bilal. I actually don't know who would win this fight, but I'd be curious to see it. Then for Arman Tsarukyan, big win, dominated Dan Hooker, didn't even break a sweat, took no damage. Looks like he's ready to fight for a belt. So that's what we're doing. We're doing Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. This is the only lightweight fight. We're not doing Patty, who's somehow top 5 now because the UFC wants to make Patty versus Ilia so bad. We're not doing Ilia versus Justin Gaethje. We're not doing Ilia versus Max 2. We are doing Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. This is the only lightweight fight that makes any sort of sense for the belt. And if Ilya wants to blob up and move up to 170, fine. Then we'll do a vacant belt between Arman Tsarukyan and Paddy Pimblett. Like, no, this is the best lightweight fight you can make right now, though. This is the two best lightweights on the planet fighting each other. Like, this is the fight that needs to happen. I know Ilya fans do not want this fight, but it's gonna happen, buddy. Or Ilya's gonna run and blob up to 170. And I don't know. Ilya legit loses to everyone in the top 5 at welterweight, by the way, except Bilal. And that's just because Bilal and him are nearly the same height, so he can get away with it. For Dan Hooker versus Dan Hooker, took the loss, took some damage, gonna be out a minute, but when he does come back, we're gonna make us a banger, bro. I think Dan Hooker should be fighting Benoit Saint Denis. BSD has honestly became a really entertaining fighter at this point, and I think it's good for at this point he'll become like number 6 or like number 6 in the rankings if he beats Dan Hooker, because I don't think Dan Hooker's gonna move down a spot after losing to Arman. That'd be stupid. So I say give BSD a chance to fight in the top 6, and give us Dan Hooker versus BSD. This is gonna be a banger, man. It's gonna be one of the best fights you ever see in your life. Both these dudes are just scrappers. Like, please give me BSD versus Dan Hooker. This is such a sick fight. So I don't know. Honestly, this is a pretty good card. So this is a pretty good card and a lot of fun matchups to be made ahead of this. Excited for UFC 323. I have a lot planned. We're gonna have to get through this week with no UFC. I have a lot planned though. Like, we'll talk about some different things. Break fight. I don't know. I'll save my Joshua Van and Alexandre Pantoja breakdown for the week at the fight week UFC 323. But I have some other stuff planned. So, anyways, hope y'all liked the video. Subscribe, please. And I'm out. Classic MMA. Peace.